Today we are looking at the most valuable key issues of Marvel Comics released with a cover date during the year 1973. This is a really big year for them. Some amazing first appearances and key issues, and some of the most shocking issues that had ever been published up to this time at Marvel Comics. These are the books that have been proven to be the most valuable comics decades and decades at a time. So long-term picks, these are the books you need in your collection. Number 10 most valuable Marvel issue of the year is actually a magazine for the fans. It's Foom number 2, and this in recent years has become highly collectible because it features a prototype of Wolverine a year before he first appeared in Incredible Hulk 181. Lots of demand for this magazine. It ranks 10th of the year and 103rd overall. You'll see on our chart here using the Overstreet annual price guide. You'll see prices have been going up slowly but consistently over the last few years, and it's increasing in the year-by-year ranking of the decade for Marvel Comics of the 1970s. So let's go learn a little bit more about this issue. For those of you who are not aware of this one, it's a really fun one to hunt out. It's the first appearance of Wolverine, predating the Incredible Hulk issues. Features a Jim Steranko cover. This is a magazine, so it's full magazine-sized. Features a Mike Ploog back cover. There's an index and article for the Incredible Hulk. It print run is estimated to be only 1,500 copies. That seems low. And a lot of people got this through the mail. Marvel Comics produced this themselves as a fan magazine. And what do we see? On the CGC census, only 100 copies have ever been graded, but there are 49.6 or better copies, so some nice high-grade copies out there. Heritage has only sold 9 copies ever. So overall, this has been undervalued and underappreciated by many, not aware that it's importance. And you see Overstreet price guide. It's quite affordable if you can find low grade. And again, on the census, there's 26.9 of this book. The number 9 most valuable Marvel comic of 1973 is Ironman number 54. This features the first appearance of Moon Dragon. It ranks 65th most valuable Marvel comic of the 1970s, and this demand is growing for this one, slowly sneaking up in price as well. It's got a Submariner appearance. This book features story and partial pencils by the legendary Bill Everett, and other pencils by George Tuska, and a Gil Kane cover. 20-cent cover price, classic battle cover. 450 copies graded at CGC in the last 20 years. There are 59 9.6s. Heritage has not sold many copies of this ever. In the Overstreet price guide, you can see it's really just had higher demand in just the last 4 years. Still very affordable in lower grades. And in high grade, it's gone up 600% in the last decade. And on the census, only 17 9.8s of this book. And there is actually a UK price variant cover from England. Only 2 copies graded, period. So quite a tough one to find there. The number 8 most valuable Marvel comic of the year is Avengers number 112, featuring the first appearance of Mantis. The Black Widow leaves the team. This issue features Don Heck cover art. Print run estimated 185,000 copies. So for those Mantis fans, this is the one to get. You can see at the CGC census, 419 copies graded in total. There's only 25 super high grade copies. Heritage, again, has not sold too many of these because this book's really only been hot for the last 4 years. And again, you can see it had a bump a few years ago. Tripled in price in low grade, and again tripled in high grade. Only 5 9.8s, and yes, there is a UK pence variant of this, but only 2 copies graded in any condition, showing again how rare those books are. They're totally undervalued, not many copies graded. Next is a big book on the list in recent years. This used to not be much of a key at all. It used to be a common book in the dollar bins, but lately it's become a major key. It is Strange Tales 169, featuring first appearance of Brother Voodoo. It's really taken off in the last decade. It has gone up 1,000% in Overstreet. Ranks 57th overall for the decade for Marvel's most valuable comics. And just looking a little more in depth, John Romita Sr. cover artwork, Gene Colan and Dan Atkins interior art. Print run estimated 150,000 copies. This is not exactly a rare comic, but it's not a major superhero title at this time, so the print run is lower than the mainstream superheroes. Now a classic cover. And you can see CGC Census has gone crazy in the last few years. Like 700 new copies graded in just the last 4 years. There's now 52 super high grade copies. Heritage sales have doubled in just the last 4 years. As the price has skyrocketed, you can see it's gone up 500% in a decade in low grade and gone up 1,000% in high grade. And on the census, there are 11 9.8 copies. Next on our list, Ghost Rider #1, and of course it's a key book. It's not the first appearance, but it is the #1 issue of his long-running series, which ran about a decade. And it ranks number 6th, 38th overall. We're getting into some of the expensive Marvel books of the 70s now. Currently grades at $475 in near mint 9.2 raw in the Overstreet price guide. And let's go learn a little bit more about this issue. First solo book for Johnny Blaze, who later, of course, was appeared in the movies. And Damon Hellstrom makes a cameo appearance. The story would be continued in Marvel Spotlight #11. Print run estimated only 135,000 copies for this key book. 2,752 copies graded. So a lot of people really interested in this title. And a whopping 132 high-grade copies graded, and even Heritage has sold a lot of copies, 132. There's the classic 20-cent cover, black background, and slow mover in low grade, and has not even doubled in the last decade in high grade. It's not that hard to find, but again, everybody wants it. And looking at the overall census, 37 9.8s, but we've got 95 9.6s, and look at that, 222 9.4s. And there is a rare UK Pence variant, and of course this one's really been hunted out. There are 36 copies, and the highest would be a 9.4. Next on our list is Amazing Spider-Man #122. This features the shocking death of the Green Goblin. This has been a key issue since the day it hit the newsstands almost 50 years ago. People have always wanted this book. It ranks as the 32 most valuable key Marvel comic of the 1970s. And not only does it have a classic cover, but it just was a shocking big moment in Spider-Man timeline, right? What else can we tell you about this book? Print run, Amazing Spider-Man was Marvel's biggest title at the time. Print run, 225,000 copies. Over at the CGC, you can see over 4,000 copies graded, 300 high-grade books. So not hard to find, but of course this is the most collected Marvel title, so of course this is one everybody's really paid attention to. Overstreet, very little movement in low grade. It has not gone up in price in 20 years. And in the high grade raw has doubled. And on the census, 94 9.8s, but 203 9.6s. Next on our list is another book that's only become sort of a major key in the last decade, is Special Marvel Edition #15, featuring the first appearance of Master of Kung Fu. Look at that, back in the 80s, a near mint copy was $1.20. Now ranking at $650 in the Overstreet price guide. Ranks 27th overall for the decade, up from 45th last year. That is a huge jump, as it has gone up from 400 to 650 raw. So this is a big time mover. If you want to know what this book's doing currently, of course, check out recent eBay and Heritage sales, and go to the GP analysis to look at graded copies, just to see where that market is going for all the graded copies out there. Okay, and what else can we tell you about this classic book? It features Jim Starlin cover and artwork. It's the second last issue of the series, and the title would change to Master Kung Fu, where it would be number 17. And for also the first appearance of Nayland Smith and Dr. Petrie. Print run estimated at 150,000 copies, Lots of copies graded, and again, look at the CG census has gone crazy in the last 4 years. Almost 2,000 new copies graded, and a lot of high grades have surfaced. Another black cover, 20-cent classic cover. Overstreet just like doubled overnight, it seems, after being stalled for many years. And again, it's almost doubled just in the last 2 years in high grade as well. On the census, this is interesting. We have almost 3,000 copies graded, including 97 9.8s. But what's interesting about this is people have started to grade foreign copies. So there's a Swedish edition, Mexican, and a reprint Swedish edition that have had a few copies graded. And of course, more happening with Master Kung Fu in the modern age, which is why everybody's so excited about it. Number 3 on our list, one of the most important moments in Marvel history, is the death of Gwen Stacy. This book is not that hard to find, but again, super high demand constantly from the day it came out. And this came out the month before the death of Green Goblin, so we had 2 major deaths in Spider-Man back to back. So back then, people didn't know it was coming. You had to wait a month. It was really like waiting for your next episode of a soap opera. Ranks 22 overall for the decade. It's holding kind of steady, not really moving up fast compared to other titles. And if we look at more details on this book, print run again, 225,000 copies approximately. And Gwen Stacy, a love of Peter Parker's. On the census, a crazy 5,000 copies graded, including 250 in super high grade. Heritage has even sold over 400 copies. Demand that way is super strong. And this has an interesting yellow background. In the Overstreet Price Guide Annual, you'll see it has not moved much over the years in low grade, but it has tripled in high grade raw. On the census, there are 69 9.8 issues, and there is one French-Canadian edition graded, and it only gets a 5.5 grade. Back on our chart, the most valuable comics for Marvel, Tomb of Dracula number 10. This is such a major key. It's still growing in price, jumping like crazy. Again, look back in the 80s, it was worth $2 in near mint. And now it has leaped to $1,200 raw, but of course all the copies out there are priced way higher than that now. The first appearance of Blade the Vampire Hunter, who's already had 3 movies based on this character, and there's more to come. And getting more details on this book, yes, this was a Dracula horror title, and of course Blade is a vampire hunter. And there is, unbelievably, a copy graded 9.9 on the CGC census. This is the only comic from this year that has a grade like that. Print run, estimate 175,000 copies. Almost 3,000 copies graded with 159 high grade. Heritage has sold 130. Overstreet overall has gone up 400% in the last 15 years and has gone up 1,000% in high grade. Definitely a mover, a big key book, a great long-term pick for sure. And this one, again, being such a key book, we've got all the regular covers graded, 47 9.8s, but we also have a Danish edition, French Canadian, Swedish, the UK price variant, and a German edition have a few odd copies graded. And more people are collecting variant country covers of these key books. And the number 1 most valuable key book of Marvel Comics for 1973 is Iron Man number 55, featuring the first appearance of Thanos and Drax. It ranks as the number 11 most valuable comic of the 1970s. Again, this has not always been a major key. In the 80s, you could have bought near mint for $4, but now it's holding steady at $1,600 for a raw 9.2. And let's talk a little bit more about this most valuable key of the year, Iron Man 55. Not only does it now have a classic cover, it's got some Jim Starlin and Joe Sinnott artwork. Print run estimate 200,000 copies. This is the most valuable issue of the entire Iron Man series, not counting number 1. And, of course, a lot of hype for this character once he started appearing in the movies. There are almost 4,000 copies graded, 222 super high grade ones. Heritage sales continue to increase quickly. And in low grade, this book has gone up 1,000%. And in high grade, over 1,100%. A big mover in all grades. This is the key book of the year. This is one you want to own for sure. There are 79 9.8s out there, breaking records for sales prices. And even the UK price variant, people have really hunted this out. There's 66 grade, which is an incredible number, as many people do not collect the UK price variants of this book. And there you have it. So let's just do a couple of comparisons on the CG Census itself. For rarity, Foom number 2 has only 100 copies graded, compared to the book at the top of the list, Amazing Spider-Man 121, which has over 5,000 copies graded. And you'll notice that all of these books have an average grade of approximately 7.5 if you take all the copies graded and average them out. And scarcest on the super high grade list is actually Avengers 112. There are only 5 9.8s. So compare that to a book like Amazing Spider-Man 122, which has 94 9.8s. And of course, remember, Tomb of Dracula number 10 amazingly has 1 9.9 copy. Incredible. There you go, the most valuable comics and key books for 1973. We're going over a different year every week. So continue, subscribe to this video channel, and you'll continue to learn some Marvel history and see which books you should be investing in, especially long term. These are the books people always want, whether they are rare or not. These are key moments in Marvel history. And so check out also my website, terryhoknes.com, for more articles on comic book collecting and investing and speculating. And of course, go to CBSI, which his website is comicbookinvest.com, for thousands of fascinating articles on all aspects of comic book collecting. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you again next week.